Yes, so BYD have announced that their newest EV platform is going to be capable of charging at up to 1 megawatt of power, which is really an unprecedented.
Picture yourself standing before a factory 10 times the size of Tesla's Giga Factory in Nevada, not in California, not in Berlin, but in Jiangzhou, the industrial heartland of central China. Once known as the country's logistics hub, this city now hosts a city within a factory, a colossal production machine running 24/7, capable of rolling out 2 electric vehicles every minute. BYD, China's largest electric vehicle (EV) manufacturer, has just completed Phase 5 of the world's largest Giga Factory. This isn't just a milestone in manufacturing, it's raising fundamental questions about the future: who truly leads the global EV race? What does speed mean? What is technology? And most critically, where does the power of production lie? Join Top 10 Discoveries Official as we step inside the manufacturing beast of the EV industry to understand why it's not Tesla, but BYD, that's staging a historic upset. When you think of the world's largest EV factory, many in the US might picture Nevada or Berlin, home to Tesla's flagship facilities. But in a twist few saw coming, that title is now at risk of being claimed by an Eastern rival, China's BYD. Founded in 1995 in Shenzhen by chemist Wang Chuanfu, BYD began as a low-cost battery supplier for Japanese electronics giants. But instead of remaining a backstage player in the global supply chain, the company quietly nurtured a grander vision: to become the strategic engine of China's green industrial revolution. 2 decades later, in 2024, BYD sold 4.3 million vehicles, generated over $18 billion in revenue, and posted a net profit of $5.6 billion. In the EV battery market, the lifeblood of the energy revolution, its subsidiary, FinDreams Battery, holds a 17% global market share, trailing only CATL. BYD doesn't just make cars, it builds an ecosystem: batteries, motors, semiconductors, driving systems, and software, all in-house. If Tesla is America's EV icon, BYD is China's meticulously engineered counterstrike. It's a conglomerate with 3 missions. BYD Auto, leading the global EV and hybrid market, has surpassed Tesla in sales since 2023. BYD Electronics supplies components to giants like Apple, Huawei, and even Tesla. FinDreams is a robust ecosystem of batteries, drivetrains, technology, and precision engineering. This operates as a single cohesive organism, closed-loop, resilient, and insulated from Western supply chain risks. It's a calculated counterpunch amid global supply chain disruptions caused by pandemics, geopolitics, and tech sanctions. BYD doesn't just produce vehicles, it crafts macro strategies. Since Berkshire Hathaway invested $230 million in 2008, BYD has shed its copycat Chinese company label. In 2020, it launched the Blade battery, a lithium iron phosphate (LFP) battery that's fire-resistant, durable, and affordable, debunking stereotypes about Chinese tech. Hailed as the world's safest, it's becoming an industry standard, with rivals considering its adoption. In 2022, BYD became the first major automaker to entirely phase out internal combustion engine vehicles, ending the era of gasoline not with slogans but with action. By November 2024, it celebrated its 10 millionth new energy vehicle, not in a California showroom, but on a production line in Jiangzhou, where the world's largest factory is emerging as a new industrial icon. If you think BYD is just about cheap outsourcing, consider these figures: 968,900 employees, including over 104,000 in R&D, 13,000 patents filed between 2003 and 2023, and 39.91 billion Chinese yuan, approximately $5.6 billion, invested in R&D in 2023 alone, equating to 6% of operating revenue, a ratio rivaling Apple. In a country where the private sector is often doubted for innovation, BYD lives up to its name: build your dreams, proving it can create its own future. From factories in China, Brazil, Hungary, and Indonesia to production sites in Vietnam, Canada, and Thailand, BYD is no longer just a domestic brand. It's reshaping the industrial map, building localized supply chains in every region. A Hungarian factory is set to open in 2026 to bypass EU tariffs, and 3 Brazilian plants are serving South America. BYD's "produce where you sell" strategy cuts costs, dodges trade barriers, and wins local favor, something many Western conglomerates have struggled to achieve. This is a direct challenge to Tesla. If Elon Musk once warned that competition is coming, BYD is answering with action. It's producing nearly 360,000 vehicles monthly, priced at two-thirds the cost of a Model 3, and meeting global safety standards. In 2025, models like the Seal, Dolphin, and Yangwang U8 SUV will hit European roads, priced $8,000 below competitors in their class. From a domestic tech dream to global dominance, BYD has built a closed-loop ecosystem that even the most storied industrial empires now approach with caution. The most remarkable story, however, isn't in financial spreadsheets or global battery market shares, it's in Jiangzhou, the heart of China, where a factory called Giga is taking shape. Located in Henan Province, China's geographic, logistical, and mineral hub, the Jiangzhou Giga Factory isn't just an industrial site, it's a veritable manufacturing metropolis spanning 130 square kilometers, or 50 square miles. It's larger than San Francisco and 10 times the size of Tesla's Nevada Giga Factory, long considered America's industrial benchmark in the EV era. This isn't merely a production facility but a self-contained industrial ecosystem where every battery, bolt, and electric vehicle is born in a closed-loop cycle of labor, logistics, and innovation. The project is divided into 8 phases, with 6 production lines already operational, delivering a capacity of 400,000 vehicles annually. When fully completed by late 2025, the factory will produce 1 million EVs per year, equivalent to 2 vehicles every minute, 24/7. BYD is betting big on this project as a decisive push. The Jiangzhou Gigafactory isn't just a production site, it's a vibrant community planned as a self-sufficient industrial city. It includes free housing for workers, subsidized meals and canteens, dedicated sports facilities, soccer, tennis, etc., high-rise office buildings, commercial zones, schools for workers' children, an artificial lake, and internal shuttle bus routes connecting the entire campus. Currently, the complex employs nearly 60,000 workers, about two-thirds of BYD's total workforce. As it reaches completion, plans to hire an additional 200,000 globally are underway, making it China's largest private sector employer. Situated at the crossroads of China's trade networks, Jiangzhou is close to lithium and rare earth mines, key for EV battery production, and is linked to high-speed rail and interprovincial highway investment. This public-private partnership domestic is transport costs by 20% and shortens international delivery times via isn't BYD's only Gigafactory, but it's the most strategic. The local government has provided a $500 million support package. It accounts for roughly 25% of BYD's new energy vehicle sales in 2024. While Tesla races to expand its Berlin and Mexico Gigafactories, BYD has already completed or operates facilities in Brazil, Hungary, Thailand, and Vietnam. In Europe, manufacturers like Volkswagen and Renault feel the heat, as the BYD Dolphin undercuts competitors by $8,000. In Latin America, BYD is capturing Brazil's market with new factories tailored for local production. Yet the Jiangzhou Gigafactory faces significant challenges. Overcapacity risk looms. If the EV market slows, excess production could become a liability. Supply chain volatility, semiconductor shortages, and fluctuating material prices pose real threats. Trade barriers, like EU carbon tariffs, could raise export costs. BYD is countering these issues by diversifying supply chains, securing lithium mines in Zimbabwe and Chile, and planning new gigafactories in Hungary and Brazil. If Tesla's Nevada Gigafactory once redefined scale, BYD is redefining Giga, not as a factory but as an industrial metropolis where production, life, and the future converge. Jiangzhou isn't just a dot on the manufacturing map, it's a strategic strike in the 21st century geopolitical game, where technology, scale, and geography merge to forge new power. Look at it another way, Jiangzhou isn't just a factory, it's a geopolitical equation solved through high-speed industrialization. And remarkably, this equation is being cracked not in Silicon Valley, but in China's Central Plains. While the US debates infrastructure spending, BYD has quietly built a manufacturing metropolis with a 1 million vehicle annual capacity in under 5 years. While Silicon Valley grapples with labor shortages, rising costs, and fractured supply chains, Jiangzhou is hiring 200,000 workers, expanding like a tech stronghold, without fanfare or grandiose speeches. This is soft power built with concrete, lithium batteries, and high-rise dormitories. If Silicon Valley is the laboratory, Giga is the world's factory. The US pioneered the mass-market EV, but through companies like BYD, China aims to make it universal. While Tesla relies on global supply chains, BYD has localized nearly everything: batteries, chips, motors, even air conditioning units. This is its strategic edge. Giga's location amid the world's largest high-speed rail network, near critical resource mines and backed by government support for infrastructure, logistics, technical education, and credit, makes it a 21st-century Detroit, but not in Michigan. Why build so big? The answer lies not just in market demand but in commercial power. As the world shifts to clean energy, whoever controls production capacity shapes the entire value chain. BYD gets this. The Giga Factory is a quiet but meticulously planned counterstrike against the West's once exclusive technological dominance. BYD is proving China doesn't need military might to lead, if it can dominate with cheaper batteries, longer-range vehicles, and a more complete ecosystem. If Tesla is the American dream, BYD is the Chinese reality. With Apple Park, America showed a headquarters could become a cultural icon. But with Giga, China is doing the opposite. A factory self-contained with soccer fields and fish ponds for workers is a political statement. Not flashy. No sleek logos. But it works. And it profits. That's the difference between design for investors and design for dominance. If you're looking for the pulse of 21st century industrial power, skip the boardrooms of Davos or COP conferences. Look to Giga, where EVs are forged every 30 seconds, where power is built floor by floor using the very tools once synonymous with the West: speed, scale, and systems. Since images of the Giga megafactory spread online, its scale, investment, and potential have been jaw-dropping. Boardrooms in Detroit, Wolfsburg, Paris, and Palo Alto have grown livelier, not because they are surprised, but because they know this isn't a warning. It's reality. In the West, concern has shifted from a distant future to next quarter's financials. In the US, analysts at Goldman Sachs, Bloomberg, and even the White House are rethinking, can America's EV industry maintain its lead when BYD can produce nearly an entire vehicle in-house, from batteries to chips to touchscreens? What happens if trade wars escalate? A leaked 2024 Tesla internal report revealed executives' fears: if we don't control battery costs, we'll lose Asian market share within 18 months. Giga has reset the global price ceiling for EVs, and not everyone is ready to play by those rules. In Europe, legacy automakers are learning new lessons. Volkswagen, Renault, and Peugeot, once dominant, are struggling to adapt to a reality where a BYD Dolphin sells for $8,000 less than comparable models. Why? Because their rival doesn't just make cars. It makes factories. Giga isn't a product of technology, but of systems. This forces traditional automakers to restructure, digitize production chains, and even consider alliances with BYD, unthinkable 5 years ago. In Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa, where governments crave FDI to build green auto industries, Giga is both an inspiration and a pressure point. Nations are asking, can we localize EV industries without Western models? If not, how long until we catch up? BYD isn't just delivering products, it's exporting a complete development model, something few Western firms can replicate. Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid may still lead in brand prestige, but BYD, with Giga as its emblem, is leading in redefining the industry. Whoever can produce cheaper batteries, assemble faster, and operate sustainably will define the future. No speech is required. And if a nation can produce 1 million clean vehicles annually in a self-sufficient industrial city, the question isn't what can they do, but how long do we have to catch up? Yet beneath the gleaming metal of this colossal project, the story isn't just about triumphs. It's about risks, quiet but undeniable. Risk 1, the shadow of its own scale. 1 million vehicles a year, a figure to make any policymaker smile. But what happens if the world doesn't need 1 million vehicles? The global EV market is entering a sobering double-edged sword. Giga
Europe,
Giga boasts
BYD
near
has
total
slashed
localization
prices
on
on
unsold
components
from
from
batteries to chassis.
In China,
But
EV
self-reliance
stockpiles can be a
nearly
constraint.
28% in Q1
If lithium prices
2025,
spike, as they did in
a
2022,
factory optimized
production
for
costs
breakneck
could
growth.
soar.
What happens when growth
Production
stalls?
costs could soar.
In the worst case,
If lithium
Giga
prices
could become
spike,
a modern
as
white
they
elephant,
did in
a symbol of
2022,
overcapacity
production
in a
costs could
fragmented
rise
market.
sharply.
Furthermore, the reliance on localized supply chains, while providing a competitive edge, could also pose a vulnerability. The potential for fluctuating raw material prices, geopolitical instability affecting resource extraction, or disruptions in critical component supply could leave Giga exposed, undermining its advantages. The sheer scale of the Giga Factory also invites questions about the long-term sustainability of such an immense industrial project. While the world's push toward clean energy is certain, the precise pace of adoption of electric vehicles remains uncertain. A sudden dip in demand, market saturation, or regulatory shifts could challenge the factory's expansive output. The rise of global competitors or shifts in consumer preferences toward alternative green technologies could further stress the factory's role in the future market. BYD, however, seems ready for these challenges. The company's approach to diversification, with its emphasis on technology, logistics, and ecosystem building, positions it well for the future. But it's clear that the road ahead won't be without bumps. Giga's potential to become a beacon of industrial prowess is undeniable, but its success will depend on navigating the complex and ever-evolving landscape of the global economy, supply chains, and the fluctuating EV market. What's more certain, however, is the impact BYD is making on the world stage. The Giga Factory, with its ambition, scale, and innovation, isn't just a response to the EV boom, it's a calculated move that is redefining what it means to be a leader in the 21st century automotive industry. As the world's focus turns to clean energy, BYD's strategic planning and foresight are putting it in a position to potentially reshape the global EV market. The question remains, will the rest of the world catch up, or will BYD continue to set the pace for the future of electric vehicles? Geopolitical tensions are rising, especially with resource-rich nations like Chile and Zimbabwe, presenting a global strategic challenge for BYD. Absolute self-reliance in such a volatile world can sometimes be a liability. As these tensions flare, BYD faces the difficult task of repositioning itself on the global stage, ensuring that its massive operations are not vulnerable to international conflicts over critical resources. Another significant risk lies in the scale of BYD's workforce, 260,000 people managing a self-contained industrial metropolis. Maintaining such a massive workforce under immense pressure is not an easy feat as global economic growth slows, the burden of subsidies, free housing, and cheap meals could become unsustainable. The labor unrest witnessed in Chinese industrial zones in 2022 serves as a reminder that workers are not just numbers, they need more than just benefits. They need a voice. If BYD's corporate culture cannot keep pace with its rapid expansion, the possibility of a collapse becomes not just a risk, but a certainty. Environmental and social concerns also loom large. The Giga Factory, spanning 130 kilometers, has consumed vast amounts of farmland and ecosystems. The factory's energy use, wastewater treatment, and encroachment on urban spaces all create impacts that are not always captured in financial reports. International observers are increasingly asking whether BYD is prepared to meet the environmental, social, and governance (ESG) standards required to export this model to Europe, the US, or other developed markets. If BYD falls short in this regard, it could be their biggest strategic weakness in the decade ahead. While Giga is undeniably a monumental achievement, it could quickly turn into a nightmare if these blind spots aren't addressed. Giga is not just a factory, it's a vast ecosystem. And like any ecosystem, it has limits. Limits in resources, people, and market conditions. BYD's success has stemmed from its ability to transcend those limits, but if those limits are ignored or underestimated, the risks won't come from competitors but from within. While the 2010s were the era of Silicon Valley, where digital technology reshaped the world, the 2020s are ushering in a new power center. Here, steel, people, and renewable energy fuse into a tangible form, the Giga Factory. Giga is not merely an engineering marvel, it is a declaration of self-reliance, rapid execution, and a vision that connects industry, society, and nation in a world that is redrawing the map of energy and production. However, as impressive as Giga is, every megastructure comes with mega risks. Growth can stall, demand can wane, and today's strengths can quickly become tomorrow's weaknesses. In a race where every city is a machine, every factory a symbol, and every $1 billion a vote for the future, the question remains, is the West falling behind or gearing up for the next counterstrike? Is Giga the model for 21st century industry, or will it face challenges that no one saw coming? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis compelling, don't forget to like and share the video. Subscribe to Top 10 Discoveries Official for more breathtaking breakthroughs, monumental projects, and untold stories from around the globe. See you next time.